Good morning, everyone. It's a bit stoked to be here. Selamat pagi. I'm Adriansyah from Transport for Jakarta. I'm very happy to be here for you guys to basically share the story of how wayfinding design could actually kickstart a movement in Jakarta. I saw the theme of the session of the symposium is Hubs and Us. So we will first talk about the us part and then the hubs part later. But I got like half an hour to basically yap everything about design and wayfinding. But to start with, this presentation will be divided into two parts because I'm actually working in two parts. So my actual job is actually a railway employee in Kereta Api Indonesia, which I actually work for as the principal design advisor for the wayfinding signs in the Indonesian railway. So that's me in like very formal uniform uh, doing design for signages. And during my free time, that's my wife there, I just design maps and place signages all over Jakarta with Transport for Jakarta, which is the civil organization that I helped founded. So the first presentation is going to be about Transport for Jakarta, then I'll talk a bit about the Indonesian railways later on. So Transport for Jakarta at a glance. To start with, we're not like TFL. We just chose the name Transport for Jakarta because I know everyone in the outside world will see, oh, okay, it looks like Transport for London, but we're not really a government organization, but we're actually a civil organization working on advocacy towards sustainable urban mobility in Jakarta and Indonesia. Are known in Indonesia as the organization that designed a lot of maps and wayfinding because that's one of the first thing that we do as a civil society organization. But we also do a lot of advocacy towards sustainable mobility. The Indonesian name that we have in Indonesia is actually translated as the Discussion Forum for Jakarta's Urban Transport. So we actually also function as like a platform for people in Jakarta to basically just discuss everything about public transport. So to start with, I would like to start with this proverb in Indonesian. Malu bertanya sesat di jalan, which means who fears to ask is doomed to stray. This proverb really is the defining proverb when it comes to traveling in Indonesia because everyone in Indonesia is really they don't really like to see things. We're not official person. We like to ask people for directions, which leads to navigating in Jakarta becoming a really difficult thing. So for starters, to give you a bit of insight about Jakarta, we are actually the second largest metropolitan area in the world after Tokyo, but for some reason Jakarta is really seldom talked about. But we have a population of over 33, almost 34 million. So you start to understand how really complicated maybe our public transport network are, and it is really a nightmare for us, even for Jakartans, to travel using public transport because there's like a layers of systems that we have to use. And this is just the example of a public transport network just around my residence. So you have like the small microbus that you maybe also see here in Hong Kong, and then you have the feeder buses, and then you have the BRT buses, the LRT, and the commuter rail and whatnot. And we are really bad designers. This is like the science. You see all those buses, the cool trains, and this is the signages that we have, like at least a decade before. That proverb leads Indonesians to be less visual. They don't really see signs. They don't see signs as like a media for them to help them navigating. They would just look for the first person, the first staff, and just ask the directions, even though there's already proper signages. And because of that, it leads to this horrible design that we see almost every day in Jakarta. But this is the thing that we realize that's something that might be also the thing that could start improve our public transport network because without a proper information, of course, people are sometimes not really want to use public transport. And Yeah. And the long road for that, for us to push for this improvement, we've started Transport for Jakarta in 2014. Now yeah, it's been 11 years. And this long road has taken us to actually do a lot of things in terms of design. So the first one I want to talk about is about maps. So these are the maps that we used to have. As I mentioned, Jakarta is really complicated in terms of public transport, and we don't really have an integrated map before 2015. So this are the maps that you see every day, and you see how terrible the design are, especially the right one. The left one is the commuter rail, which are actually the main backbone for a lot of people within the metropolitan area. And the right side are the BRT. Jakartans are always proud that we have like one of the largest BRT networks in the world, but this is how we convey the design of the maps back in 2015. So in 2015, 2016, we tried to basically propose to the Transjakarta company to design a better map. This is actually one of the first maps that we helped design back in 2016. We tried to convince Transjakarta that they are actually growing, and at that time they have around 100 routes running and yet no information whatsoever. So this is what our first attempt to create like an integrated map of the bus network in Jakarta, which actually received a good reception from the people. Then they started to realize how extensive the network are. But then more routes are opening because in that time Transjakarta is really starting to get like the support from the government, and they're like opening routes every month or so. To which we felt this map is a bit exhaustive because we have to add like this is a combination of all bus routes in Jakarta at that time, so BRT, non-BRT, so all the routes. And we tried to redesign a new one, which we actually inspired by the map of Sofia in Bulgaria at the time. We also still insisting on having all the lines placed in this map, which we started to be a bit more tired of adding more routes, and to which we also started to realize that our railway system is also growing. So to give more context, Jakarta is really dependent on their BRT system as the transport network, even though we are a big metropolitan city. We do have a railway system, but at that time, not many people are using it because it's not really good. But this time being, it's really improving, and it started to gain traction and more people are pushing that we should, if you see this map, it's really focused on the bus maps, but then people asked us to, highlight the train system more, to which we did a second iteration of the map. For this one, you started to see like how the railway system are a bit more shown here by the thicker lines. And we started also to realize not all bus routes should be placed in the map, so we started to just include just the BRT routes, and we started to produce another maps for the feeder and non-BRT routes. And then this is the last one. This is actually the most updated one that we actually design a map every month or so. So we actually, if you go to our website at transportforjakarta.com, you see .or.id, sorry. You see all the updates and the maps. You can just check it on our website, and you see this map is actually one of the map that we are using right now in Jakarta. And these are also the design iterations that we try to place as well. This is a map of the downtown area, to which this is like an unfinished project because we realized there are too many routes to pick, so we just tired and stopped working on this. Okay, and that's the first one. And the second one is actually what we are really heavy on in Transport for Jakarta. We are going to also talk about wayfinding signages. And this is like the image of how public transport in Jakarta in the lowest level are. Like basic information is really lacking in a lot of our areas. This one is actually just in front of my apartment, and you see my wife there. That's just a bus stop with no information whatsoever. So I like the statement that Sam made yesterday about public transport. Also, like it's also like a restaurant. Like if you don't have a menu in it, like people wouldn't bother coming to your restaurant and eat there. And the same goes with our public transport network. I mean, if you just putting the signs and hoping people to just use their service, I mean, it's not gonna work out. And I also already have this experience last time when the Transjakarta people complain about they're opening a new route, but not many people are using it. And we point out that this is the bus stop you're having, and of course, not a lot of people will use it. And instead of actually improving, they're just being mad at us for some reason. And with all of that lack of information, even if there's information, it's also lack of like an actual design language and lack of coherence. So these are all the same wayfinding signs that our city government has created. It's actually located not really far away from each other, and you can see like how different they are from each other. So for them, it's just a one-time off. Like you have like a project that you're doing in this one road, you design one design, and then when you move to the next project, they'll just design a new one, which also not really good in a lot of ways. And when talking about also intermodal hubs, since we also have a lot of different operators, different types of transport, they used to also have their own design language. So when you come to one hub, they usually will always have a different kind of signages that you have to deal with. And this is like just one example of one area that has at least three different wayfinding signs. The first one is from our MRT metro system, and then when you've changed the commuter rail system, it changes completely in terms of design. So this is one thing that we see in Transport for Jakarta as something that we could actually improve. And we're trying to improve really, really slowly. So this is the movement. I was still like a high school student back then when I opened up Transport for Jakarta, and okay, we decided to see what things that we could do as a, just a civilian, as like a local, to improve our public transport system. So what we want to do is just to design maps and place them. I mean, how hard that can be. So we try to just design the simple maps, try to put them on, just print them on A3 size, laminate it, get like a glue or something, and just put it on the bus stops that might need some information. So that's actually the thing that I always do in my free time with my friends here from Transport for Jakarta for over like 5 years. I lost count on how many signs that we actually put up like ourselves, and to which they started to gain attention. So I'm just going back. So the right one, the rightmost one that we placed in 2019 is actually a connection station between a BRT stop and an LRT station that you just open. And of course, in classic Jakarta fashion, they don't have any information whatsoever about how to change lines. So we decided to go there, place some signs, put it on the Twitter or so, and for some reason it went viral. And it went viral, to which the government itself finally realized it's something that they should work on. And they finally contacted us and actually invited us to challenge us basically on what we can do to improve their wayfinding system. With that challenge, luckily, there are two wonderful things that came about in Jakarta at that time in 2019, 2020. The government is actually formulating a new transport branding. It's called Jaklingko, and the city branding of Jakarta City of Collaboration. So we use this two branding as the baseline to basically lobby the government to actually start designing a standardized form of wayfinding in the city. So these are us trying to lobby the governor at the time. So we just gave a map to show this is actually the extent of the transport that you have, that you subsidize right now. So wouldn't be a shame if you don't actually show it to the people, right? So and then they actually agreed on and start to actually gave us at that time just 2 weeks to design a concept that they could actually place and actually implement. So that's me and the right side after the 2 weeks. So this is just a 2 weeks difference. Me showing the same person the design that we have created that is already placed on the wayfinding signs. And you can actually see it still now in Jakarta. And with that, the first Kickstart, we actually given the chance by the government to actually collaborate with them to create like an standardized form of wayfinding, which I believe is one of the first in Indonesia, because yeah, we don't really see design as something that they need, but then they realize it's also a powerful tool to help us change the image of transport in the city. So we decided to create a standardized form of wayfinding that consists of every single public transport network in the city that used to be like a very fragmented in terms of design, and to create like a more standardized and more integrated design that they can use. And these are just the contents of the standardization. The first one is, of course, the pedestrian infrastructure. We did a lot of, not really a lot of research, but we are inspired by the Legible London, of course, to create some of, some similar maps in terms of wayfinding signs and pedestrian information network. So this is like one of the examples in one of the sidewalks in the city. And then we also do bicycle information wayfinding, because in that time, bicycle is also starting to gain traction as like a popular mode of transport. So we also want to tap in on that. So we designed information for bicycles and facilities such as bicycle parking. And then bus stops, this is one of the most important one. You see the first image of, the lack of information, and we decided to just like create a small addition to the bus stop signs to make it totally different, to make it more informative to people. So we designed like different design types that people in Jakarta can use. So we divide the signs into different design depending on the road width and the road types. And these are also the examples of that of the signages that has been placed in the city. And these are the BRT station signs. So you can see that we try to also emulate the feel of a station in our BRT stops, because at that time our BRT stop feels more like a shack rather than like transport stop. So we try to make this iteration to make the journey in our BRT stop a bit better. And these are the MRT and LRT station signs. They used to be very different two companies. They don't really compete each other, but they're just two different companies that doesn't really have any communication whatsoever. So we decided, okay, that we could actually integrate your design language by having this integrated wayfinding signs, to which they started to actually implement it in the past few years or so. And these are the intermodal integration signs. Right now, in almost every single transport hub in Jakarta has this 5-meter totems that shows basically what kinds of public transport service that are located in that area. These are one of the examples that I personally designed, because I also work with the railway, which I will continue later. But this is types of hubs that are started to appear in Jakarta, because we just started off our public transport investment in infrastructure just lately. So during the past 5-10 years, we started to just have a lot of new hubs that we have to design to make the travel in that hub better. And yeah, these are the first bus stop wayfinding sign that I mentioned before. So you can still see, like, before it was placed, it was just empty. So for some reason, the Department of Transport designed a bus stop, constructed a bus stop, but they didn't bother to actually put information whatsoever. So it used to be just blank. So it was easy for us. It's just an easy canvas for us to just fill in. And these are one of the examples that me and Hirham there tried to design, to which is actually received a lot of good comments from the people. They started to realize how important it is for them to have information by just sitting, they know what surface they could use and what kind of things that they could expect from their bus while waiting. And these are the first intermodal hub wayfinding prototype that we did in Jakarta. It's in Tanah Abang Station. Tanah Abang Station is actually one of the busiest station in Jakarta that has around 100,000 people changing daily. So, well, our 100,000 for Jakarta is already big enough. So when I heard Admiralty has 500,000, we just like, what? Because every day in Jakarta, we have only daily passengers of around 1 million in our commuter rail. So compared to MTR, which almost has like 4 to 5 million, it's just wonderful to see that. But these are one of the examples that we first initiated with the government, to which you see like the design has not been finalized yet. But I want to talk to you about this hub right now. These are one of the most important hubs that we have in Jakarta right now. It's called Duku Atas. So Duku Atas hub is actually located really in the downtown of area. So just like Admiralty, but it's really fragmented. You see, we have a lot of lines coming by. It's also like 4 lines, but 5 lines, 1 in process. But you can see how fast, how different and how far all the stations are located. So we are really having a very hard time to, to try to connect this hub into one single area, to which we, of course, propose the government to actually start to use just a better wayfinding for people so that people could easily transfer between modes. Even though it's still a very long, I mean, when yesterday someone mentioned that 10-minute walk is really already a very hasty travel time, that is basically just a very normal thing for Jakartans, because from that LRT Duku Atas Jabodebek, the ones on the right bottom, to go all the way to the airport railway, the Sudirman Baru, will take you around 10 to 15 minutes. But that's a very normal commute that people have to take. So it's also a very big challenge for us to combine this into one single hub. These are the maps that we actually proposed and also received by the government. So we tried to create a more informative types of maps that people can use while transferring in Duku Atas. So even though we cannot really change the design of the area in terms of architecture, we try to improve that slowly by having a better wayfinding signs. And these are the wayfinding signs that we placed around the Kuatas area. We actually collaborated with the MRT system here to improve their wayfinding signs around the area to create a much better transferring experience. Even though compared to Admiralty, of course, it's just heaven and earth. We still have to walk outside during the tropical heat of Jakarta to change, but this is the least thing that we could do to help that experience a bit better. And these are the signages that we also placed. So when you exited the MRT station, which is the image on the right side, you will immediately see the sign, which shows to which kind of transport connection that you want to use. And the second hub that I want to also mention to you guys is this funny future-looking transfer station. It's called CSW or ASEAN. ASEAN is the name of it's the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, like our version of European Union, which actually has the their main office is on the right side. So, but it's actually also already a very busy intersection to which two of the important connection between the MRT and our BRT lines, which is the elevated one, they're met. So in 2020, the government decided to create a much better interchange. So they created this sort of circle skywalk that connects both of the MRT station and like 4 of the BRT station right there. So the BRT station itself has two levels. The first one is the one on the top, which is the elevated BRT that goes to the west side of the suburbs, and there are also several different bus stops down there that actually is connected by a single, it feels like a single station. So we decided to create like an integrated map for that, as you can see here on the left side. And even though we don't really have like 3D ability, we try to create this simple, yes, 3D map of the area to show also which are the exits and what kind of surfaces that you could access. And we actually decided to, even though there are two separate systems, we basically mention and we say discuss and lobby the both of the companies that are operating them to basically created like integrated exit numbers, so exit letters. So you can see here, all the exit letters are integrated, even though there are two separate systems. And these are the wayfinding signages that we place in the bus stop. I mean, to compare to Hong Kong, I mean, it's less simple because Jakartans are really, as I mentioned, it's not really a very visual people. So if you just place an icon there, they don't actually will understand it easily. So we still really have to explain what are the signages meant, what are the services there, and whatnot, because Jakartans are really just starting off our change towards a more public transport mindset. And these are the maps that we place around the area. So we actually, of course, listed out all of the bus lines, what kind of services that you might get in one of the bus stops. We also created, of course, we placed also, of course, the network map of the entire city in the area. So when people are transferring, they can easily see what kind of routes that they could use and change in that area. And we also do the spider maps. We tried this in one of the bus stops. So we tried to create like a more intuitive map. So when people are changing to this bus stop, so they already immediately know what kind of service and where this bus service is taking you. And that is actually a very long process of us trying to improve wayfinding signs and maps in the city. But what I'm happy of, this movement actually managed to gain a lot of support from not just from Jakartans, but also from Indonesians. So a lot of people are amazed by how simple design could actually improve the image of the public transport network in the city of Jakarta. So with that, as Jakarta is the capital of Indonesia, a lot of cities actually inspired by this by us to also create the same kind of change in their public transport network. So we launched the initiative to actually scale this movement. So we have this project called Information for All. So we, with the aim to actually increase our advocacy towards better wayfinding and better accessibility through information, we actually try to help a lot of cities to support them by having a better information in their public transport network. Because if you see, I mean, if Jakarta has better public transport information, other Indonesian cities should also follow. So basically in general, we actually launched this last year, and we collaborated with almost 17 different kinds of stakeholders, from different kinds of communities to the public transport operators, to also our fellow advocacy groups, to create maps and wayfinding signs. So we actually collaborated in over 13 cities in 5 provinces all over Indonesia. So what we do in this program is actually to help those cities, we help those communities to just basically create maps, create signages for them to place it on whatever bus stops or transport hubs that they have, because the information in other cities in Indonesia is just very lacking, to which no one is using the bus. So we actually help them procure also all the bus stops, and we also help them to place the bus stops in during the night time. So you can see all of this work that we do last year. So around 240 bus stop signs and wayfinding signs in a lot of transport hubs are successfully placed, to which a lot of people actually started to see that there are actually public transport routes in front of their house. So for us, it's just a very different thing. We don't really see information as something that is already there. So we actually have to make one for them to actually realize how important that is. And we also do printed maps. We have a lot of maps there on the table. Please do take it because I don't really want to bring them back to Jakarta because of the precious baggage allowance. So please take all the maps that you want, and maybe in one time you can just go to Jakarta and realize how important that maps. But we printed these different kinds of maps. We collaborated with public transport operators. We collaborated with park enthusiasts. We collaborated with water and river enthusiasts to basically just inform them how important that is having public transport to reach that destination depending on your enthusiasm. So this kind of maps we printed over 15,000 copies, 10,000 copies, to which we distributed it to stations and BRT stops. So that's why, like, when Mark gave me the question how maps are important, Jakarta is the fight. The fight is the way around because we don't really have printed maps before. So we fight for this to be actually distributed as normally as like any other place would have, you know. And of course, we also do some uh, workshops to also help people because a lot of people doesn't really know how to design maps. So we help them how to create like a simple map, even through Canva or whatever an application that they have. So this one time is we did like a wayfinding workshop in one of the largest cities outside of Jakarta to basically give them the ideas of how important wayfinding is in the city. And these are basically the example of what we did in the past year or so. We finally get the call from help from other cities. The city government realized that they also need the same kind of initiative. So this year, in the first quarter of this year, the city of Surabaya, which is the second largest city in Indonesia, asked us to basically help them to create like a wayfinding recommendation. To which actually we also did some of the prototyping in the city of Surabaya. So the example here are the ones that we place alongside with the city government, to which this also received a good reception. So people in Surabaya also started to realize how important that is to just have a simple map for them to guide them to where they should be. Alongside that, we also designed like a map for the city of Surabaya. So Surabaya itself is also still growing in terms of public transit, even though it's has a population of around 2 to 4 million. So don't expect them to have a metro just yet in the future. But they're just growing. They're just growing their bus routes. They're growing their feeder routes. So we help them to create a more intuitive map for them to realize also how extensive their public transport are in their city. The next example is the Bali. I mean, everyone knows Bali. Bali is a very touristy place to which that we realize how terrible the traffic are, and the government started to realize they need some sort of information that they want to also use. So we helped them just last August to create a simple bus stop designs for the city public transport network. And these are the wayfinding standards that we actually place in the airport. Funnily enough, the bus stop on the left side received some negative comments from the taxi drivers because they realize they have now a rifle. So since now people know how to get outside of the airport cheaper by bus, they go here, and the taxi drivers aren't really happy about it. And these are the maps that we actually also designed for the Bali system. And what I'm happy also about this movement, it's so easily scalable, to which everyone in Jakarta would have the same enthusiasm as us, started to do the same thing. They just go outside, design some maps, print it in A4 or A3, and laminated it, and put it somewhere on the bus stop in front of their house or whatever. This is not our design. This is not our work, but just some good Samaritan from Jakarta realized that they are also taking part on improving their bus stop system. Damn. I realize I was already half an hour, but I'll just go through. This is the second part. I'm just gonna, since I get my leave from the Indonesian Railways, they asked me to basically just have also a short presentation about the Indonesian Railways. So since I'm working also as a railway, so it's very different feeling also on how to design a better maps and wayfinding. But I'm happy as a designer to also have the control to actually change the image of hubs through wayfinding maps in our stations in Indonesia. To give you a bit of a glance, the Indonesian railways are not really extensive, but it's quite extensive in Indonesian and Asian terms. So we have railways in two islands. The first one in the Java, one of the most busiest island in the world, and the second one is in the island of Sumatra. So we actually have like around 5,000 tracks and 600 stations that used to have a very terrible wayfinding signs, to which I was tasked to actually improve them. So these are just maps for you guys to enjoy, to see how extensive the network of the Indonesian railways are. And you see here the red lines are the high-speed railway. We got help from China to build a high-speed railway, to which all of our Southeast Asian friends are being envy of, because we are the first one to have a high-speed railway in the region. And these are also to show you to some extent of how extensive our railway used to be. The red line shows the inactive lines. So we used to be a very busy and very extensive network during the Dutch times, but after independence, a lot of lines has been disused. And also, this is just a map that we try to build, just a combination of both Indonesian and Malaysian system, to which you can see like how extensive the railway network used to be. And I mentioned in the last day yesterday, and how wayfinding and signs are actually one of the first frontliners that a lot of passengers will see in our system in the railway. The evolution of wayfinding in KAI is also a bit rough, so you can see how the design changes depending on the logo. So I was just be happy at that time that KAI is changing their logo, and I was tasked to basically change the entire image and the entire wayfinding design. And used to be a mess. So you see here, this is one station. This is Manggarai station. It's one of the busiest station in the country. 150,000 people use the station every day, and it was serviced by at least 3 operators, which actually is the same company. So basically, KAI has some sister companies that is doing the commuter rail, the airport rail, but for some reason, they're doing their own stuff. They just design their own design, and this is what you see. I mean, this might be just one platform that has just 3 different signs because there's just 3 different operators. So basically, of course, we want to change that to become more integrated. So we design more intuitive and more integrated branding for KAI, and also to try to emulate what the internet standard has already been established. So we created like a new system of wayfinding signs and symbolism. And these are the things that I work on, which is the standardized guidebook for the Indonesian railways. And these are the logos and the colors. These are actually the existing colors that we just use. And these are the iconography and everything. But I would like to point out this one. Since I both work with KAI in Jakarta, I discussed with myself to basically create an integrated iconography. So of course, we decided to incorporate some of the iconography from the Jakarta standards to make the transition between lines easier. And these are the surface line code. We tried to also create different kinds of codification for different kinds of metropolitan area. This one in Java, and this one in the island of Sumatra. I'll just go around through about the station names. These are the types of signages that we have in just a typical station. We kind of want to make the branding stands out. So wherever you are in Indonesia, the design stays the same. These are also the example of the station name. So when you enter a station, of course, this is the first thing that you will see, the station names. Even though they are in different islands, they have the same design language to show you how extensive the Indonesian railways network are. These are also the example of the station names inside of the station in the platforms. And these are the example of the wayfinding, the direction signs. As mentioned, I think quite a few times we try to also incorporate different bus routes. That when you're exiting a station in Indonesia, you will always see what kind of bus stops and bus routes that are there in our signs. So in a lot of our signs, we also, of course, incorporated with what kind of connections that you have. These are also the information signs. And also, maybe just to give you a bit of a summary on how these maps and wayfinding could also change the image of our hubs. These are the map of the railway station, railway network in Jakarta. And these are the two hubs that we have that I will give you as an example. The first one is Manggarai. As I mentioned, the last one, we differentiated how different the hubs are by the thickness of the line. So if it's thick, it's just a very integrated building, and if there's like a smaller, thinner line with a pedestrian of it, you have to change and walk a bit. Yeah, these are just the example of the station of the Manggarai. We try to basically emulate a more integrated station. So you see now it's the design has now been integrated into one. And these are the maps of the station. I also got the inspiration from Admiralty Station back then to create the similar floor signs. And as you see here, also we decided to create some floor signs for bus networks, so you can also see what kind of connections that you have. And these are the concourse of the station. A lot of people are complaining because there are too many signs for some reason. And these are also we try to also play with colors and how people could easily change, because Manggarai Station is not really well built like Admiralty, so it's a very stressful situation when changing lines there. And these are the second example in Chikoko. It's actually two KAI lines connecting together, but we have to go through a city-owned skywalk. So we actually collaborated with the city government to create an integrated wayfinding signs around the area. So you can see here, the bottom one is the light rail and the top one is the commute rail, but we have to cross a highway which bridge is actually owned by the city. So these are the maps that we designed, collaborated with myself, with the city, and so I created an integrated map with Irham also to create this both station and BRT stop map that we placed. We actually integrated again the bus station, the exit numbers and exit letters, to which, even though these two signs are two different systems, they are having the same exit letters. These are the maps that I showed you before. It was placed both in the LRT station and the BRT stop. And in conclusion, we'll see that wayfinding maps work more than just a media and work more than just stick in a box, to which is actually leads to a change in the image and how we perceive public transport in Indonesia. So I'm very happy that our work in the past 5 years has changed a bit on how public transport looks like in Indonesia, and of course we hope for this change to be much greater in times to come. And this is just the last image from me. Dafa here has working days and nights to create our own version of Hong Kong map using the Jakarta standards. And that's all from me. Thank you very much for your time.